Hi again. I just wanted to talk about these two new horses that came in. Very interesting. Both well trained. Not every horse comes in with big problems, but it's interesting to see their first response to the work in hand with the bit. This is Apollo, a Frisian gelding, and the owner says he has some issues with perhaps putting his tongue over the bit. So I'm exploring, talking to him, and seeing what he thinks about the bit in his mouth. Is he showing me any emotional issues? Is he, showing me a reason why he might be putting his tongue over the bit? What I discover is that he has a very busy mouth and he has a hard time being calm and quiet with it. And his tongue is a bit overactive. So I'm working on asking him if he can be just a little bit quiet and receive the bit in his mouth without so much to do. With that much to do, it is not surprising that he might put his tongue over the bit from time to time. So that's what I'm working on with him. Here, he finally quiets the mouth a bit, and I want to show him very clearly that that's what I would like him to do. I'm using the flexions to say, can we stretch and relax one side of the neck and then the other, using this connection point, this communication point of the bit. He did a good job there, so I give him some scratches and rubs. And now a flexion to the other side. Again, perhaps some stretching of some muscles will help him to relax and leave the tongue down and in place a little bit longer. Sometimes they draw the tongue back because they're worried about pressure on the tongue from the bit. That's why I prefer to ride with a higher hand instead of a low fixed hand, which puts a lot of pressure on the horse's tongue. Apollo is noticeably more stiff, going to the right, which means the left side of his neck is more contracted. It's a little bit harder for him to release the muscles on the left. But with some work and some practice, we'll get that done. Here he's distracted, and I don't want to try to tell him he must concentrate because he's only been at the house for a couple of days. Okay, now we're back to work. Still a little bit hard to the right, but he is also a bit distracted. And I just wait. There we go. That's not so bad. Good boy. Here I become curious as to why he's taking these dips and chomps at the bit. What is driving him to feel that this is a good idea? So I'm taking the time to listen to what he has to say to see if I can decipher it. Here I'm using the position over the pole as a place to build some contact and see how he organizes his thoughts when he has contact on both sides. I would like him to extend the neck, but I would also like him to become stable in the contact and not just bob his head up and down. Another point, especially with Frisians, is to help them learn to open the pole so they're not curling the neck. So it's a bit of a challenge for him. I continue working on this with the rein in a position a little bit further back from his pole and with my finger hooked through the halter because I want to be stable and not bump his mouth. He's having a hard time accepting the contact and not going up and down and up and down. So he still has some confusion about what this contact is actually about, and I want to take the time to explain it to him. Here, he finally becomes stable in the contact, which is actually what I was looking for. And I love it when he says, "What was that all about?" Again, the up and down, not sure about just maintaining a light contact. It seems to not be clear to him, and that's where I want to start. I'm asking him just to stay in the contact, not reach up or down or make any changes there. That's what I want. If he's already making decisions before I ask him for anything, the communication is already garbled. Here he is stable, but the mouth is still quite busy. I'm wondering at this point if I can get two things going at once, stable with a quiet mouth. I know this seems like it's taking a long time, but having clarity with the contact and the neutral attitude of the contact is really important to me. I take my right hand and I loop a finger around the throat latch of the halter. Again, I want him to understand the neutrality of just having a light contact. I'm not putting pressure on the bit with either hand. I'm just waiting for him to realize this is just picking up contact. I'm just saying hello. I just want him to be still and wait for the next request, not to make decisions beforehand. And that's kind of hard for him right now. Now that's a little bit better. Even a little bit of stillness is a place to start. Good boy. Now we're getting the idea. I want to have a few successful repetitions to be sure that he understands the concept. Lots of scratches. And another repetition. Nice and quiet, just soft contact, waiting for the request. Good job, buddy. This is Knight. He is a Frisian Morgan cross. He wanted to come behind the bit a little bit, be a little too round in the neck, and I also wanted to see just what his ideas were in the mouth. He's not too complicated, which is nice to know. He does tend to want to lean a little bit or put some weight into the hand, like, "Here, you carry my head. I don't want to carry it." But other than that, not very complicated. So this should be not too much to have to teach him. I still want to teach him all of the flexions and the ways I want him to respond the bit before I ever even ride him. There you can see that I'm asking him to open the pole and stretch his neck and think open, forward, downward. Being high and round is natural to both Morgans and Frisians. I want them, both breeds, and others that have a similar neck, to think very long, very open neck. It's simply a different position and one that can be very beneficial. The only other thing I noticed that I would like to improve on is that he's quite stiff on his lateral flexions. Lateral flexibility doesn't mean that your horse turns into a bag of eels and you can't steer. It means that they're willing to follow your hand and release one side of their neck into a lateral flexion. It stretches their neck, stretches under the scapula, the muscles that connect into the back. It's simply a healthy thing to do, and it gives them more of an idea of how to follow the hand. Here is a request for him to lengthen the neck and open the poll, and he fulfills it pretty well with a little bit of guidance from me. Not a bad start. Well, we always work both sides. And there you can see how he can tend to, a little bit, put his weight down into the hand. And I don't want him to push down. I would like him to be able to extend quietly down. And that's a very different situation altogether. But he's doing a nice job. Oh yeah, I should probably have his front feet a little bit more square. That's better. All right, let's try the flexions from the side, just to double check. Oh, kind of stiff, but he understands the question, so that's not so bad. And let's see if we can extend the neck from here. He generally has a good idea. So I'm thinking that this is a pretty good start. There are some things I will want to make more clear for him, especially being flexible laterally and being able to take his neck very long with a very open pole. Other than that, he feels pretty good.